And how rude. What a foreign Oh, you probably didn't hear that. Right, everyone. Give a big round of applause for Secret Life.
Thank you.
That's it, going then.
Yes, right.
No, this is the family show. Christ, that was hairy. So,
There's nothing there, is it? No handful at all?
no, there's nothing. Couldn't think of nothing at all there. Did you wax?
Oh, I did, yeah. Oh, that's where it's gone. They were really big before the waxing. Yeah.
I wonder why you had one nipple. So, right, Matt, everyone knows what you do. Can you tell us how you started off in doing this and what you did before? Because I know you did a lot of stuff before you did urbexing.
Okay.
So, depending on how far you want to go for, right?
Not like I did last time.
No, not last time.
We'll skip over the childhood bit, right?
Yeah, the childhood bit.
I was born, I lived in Cardiff, then we moved to Barry, and then we moved back to the Rhondda Valleys. And whilst I was in the Rhondda Valleys, I was computer programming and sort of like a techno kid. Didn't believe in the paranormal, didn't believe in weird stuff, never had any weird experiences of anything. But one night I was doing some video editing in a studio and I went across a mountain road and saw a triangular thing on the side of the mountain, and it was in front of the mountain behind a tree line. It made me think, like, what the hell was that? I was interested in reading books on the paranormal, but I just didn't really believe a lot of it. I just didn't know what to think, you know, I kind of
So you didn't
on
think
the
it was
fence.
absolute bollocks, you just thought, you just never really delved into it?
Yeah, I was a bit of a, you know, atheist, didn't really believe, I thought religion's all nonsense, you know, this is all, you know, but I was curious for these stories, you know, people say they've seen things and, you know, they're great stories. I just dealt with them as stories, you know, and then when I had that sighting, it put me in a completely different sort of position, because I was seeing myself now as like one of these people thinking, well, I've seen something I can't explain, and probably nobody would believe me, but it's changed my mind about things. So it put me on a new path, and I started investigating UFOs and going out to interview witnesses, all that sort of stuff. And I started writing for UFO magazines, and I appeared on a number of television programs and radio shows, all that sort of stuff. And then my research took me to a place called RAF Redlow Manor, which is down in Corsham. And you'll probably be familiar with the urbex stuff as the Red Door. It's actually underneath that base. And they were investigating UFOs for the Ministry of Defence. And this was denied for many years that they were doing it. We eventually, through the Freedom of Information Act and the Public Records Office, we got a document which listed all the departments that did use to investigate UFOs, and this was at a time when they'd never admitted to these departments, and one of them was Provost and Security Service, and their base was at Redlow Manor in Corsham. So I went down there to find out what was going on, and hanging around, walking around the base, trying to sort of see what the extents of it were.
And you got fairly well known as well because of that, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, the first time I ever went there, it was near Christmas, and we drove down towards the entrance to the base, which is now a disused part of the base because there's two sections, and this is the old bit. And drove down there and said, "Oh, can we speak to somebody about the UFO investigations they apparently do here?" And he said, "Oh, hang on a minute." And within about a minute, a Land Rover pulled up behind the car. These guys jumped out with guns, ran towards the car, and we had guns pointed like directly at our heads, like sort of like literally like that. One guy's there, one guy there, two guns, bang bang, and my mate on the other side, two guys on the other side. So four.
That's serious?
Yeah, they had. And just because we asked, could we speak to somebody about the UFOs that they investigated at the base? So then that got me really interested, you know, like what's going on here, because this is pretty serious kind of security they're playing here, and I thought, well, I've got to find out more about it. So I went and spoke to the locals, found out what was going on in the area, and I found out that there was a side story, was that this place had a massive underground tunnel network, which was 25 miles of underground tunnels. and it was a place that during the war the royal family would have gone to stay in bunkers underground. It had about 5,000 people would be working underground, so this was a massive, base, and the public didn't really know very much about it.
So what you're saying is, if there was a nuclear war, anything like that, the royal family somehow, if they survived, were able to kick down there for a little while until it all blew over.
Well, it would have been up to the war, maybe when the hydrogen bomb, it would have been safe for that, but not safe for nuclear weapons because they're a lot more destructive. And
right, for the hydrogen bomb.
Yeah.
Right, gotcha.
So it kind of got mothballed, this place, and they played this game with the public of telling them that there was nothing going on there, it was all being shut down and all this sort of stuff. And we knew this not to be true. We knew this to be a kind of a game they were playing on the public. And we kept up the pressure of saying, this place it's doing this, and this. And eventually they decided to give up on the idea of the masquerade of what we were telling people. And they said, no, actually, we're going to invest like nearly £1 billion on upgrading this base. And to this day now, it's one of the biggest computer centres for the MOD outside GCHQ. And it's the headquarters of all communications for the Ministry of Defence.
How convenient.
Yes, yeah. And it's also where they've got the Skynet satellites are controlled from. And if you've heard of the movie Terminator, they've got the Skynet. Well, it's a slightly different system because it's a series of satellites which are for communications inside the Ministry of Defence. And they were originally put up there by Boeing, and they're now run by Airbus. So there's a little station there on site, and that's got an underground bunker underneath it. And we just wanted to tell people about what was going on because they're dealing with communications radar, and in the past they sent out aircraft to diverted them to intercept UFOs when they were picked up on radar. And this is in the Public Records Office, all this documentation.
Yeah, there's obviously now out, isn't it? You can publicly look at it, but at the time you were doing it, there wasn't too much disclosure, I believe, is that right?
That's right, they didn't actually tell people that the Provost of Security Service, DSTI, which is Department of Scientific and Technical Intelligence, there was another one, Air Intelligence 4A, Air Intelligence 5B, and the really interesting one, which is DI-55, Defence Intelligence 55. And if anybody's familiar with Nick Pope, who used to work for the MOD, the guy who used to be a UFO investigator, he said whilst he was working in the Ministry of Defence, there were no other departments that were above him that were dealing with this. And I got this document, which was from the Public Records Office, which basically proved that there were many other departments above him that were working on this stuff. And when we got this document out there, then Nick Pope was able to change his position and say, well, actually, yes, I did work with DI-55, and now there's been a lot of information come out about UFO sightings which are covered up. I don't know if you've heard about the Calvine incident, where there were jets flying with this big diamond-shaped UFO, which the photograph has been released now of that. Absolutely colossal-sized UFO being, chased or guarded.
I mean, obviously now it's all out as such in the open. There's loads of disclosure stuff. You've got Rendlesham Forest, it's another one, isn't it? I mean, Nick Pope did that as well, didn't he?
Yes, Nick Pope investigated the Rendlesham Forest incident, and there's lots of other things out there which he's done in the past, but he doesn't focus on now. I'm quite interested in Nick as a kind of a UFO investigator because he focuses away from the UK and keeps on talking about how the Americans may have this, and the Americans, and he's the guy who was in the Ministry of Defence who never told us what the investigations were inside the Ministry of Defence. When he's on television, he always go, oh yes, but Roswell and America and Arizona, and he's kind of like doesn't like to talk back to the UK because there's a lot more he knows that he's not saying. So
I've noticed that he will always go on about the Americans.
Yeah.
Very rarely, but he might mention the UK now and then, but he won't go into depth, will he? So moving on from that then. So you did that, but you're also into crop circles, I believe.
Oh yeah, that's a side issue.
So I think we're doing with a lot of people know you did crop circles.
Yeah.
Have a look, dive into it a little bit.
Okay, well, my investigations into UFOs also led me to go to spiritualist churches and to have readings with people. I became a big believer in the paranormal, had a lot of weird experiences. I've had some ghost sightings, all since my UFO experience. A lot of things happened to me and I've seen a lot of things. So I suppose you could call me a believer now. I believe in this stuff, and I'm very firmly a believer, and I believe that it's not through kind of just reading books, it's through actually having experiences. I've had a lot of weird experiences. And that's what led me to go down to Wiltshire, because I found out about the crop circles, and I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. You know, these things coming down in the middle of the night, and they leave a print in the field, which you can actually go and visit. Whereas a lot of things to do with the paranormal, like a ghost, you may see it, but you may not get a photo of it. You know, you can get a lot of transient things that you can't capture. But crop circles was going to be something where you could actually go and see it. It left a physical imprint, which was, you know, measurable.
So at that time, you weren't in that crop circle genre. You were just literally coming into it. What did you find out about them? You know,
well, through investigations, I eventually came across some of the people who said they were making them, and I was told point blank by most of the researchers who were doing the crop circle stuff never to speak to people who claim to make crop circles, because they would be liars, and you know, you wouldn't want to deal with them. They're dark energy. They'd throw all sorts of things at you, and kind of one of the things they did, which is sort of like cultish, is they'd say, well, if you speak to these people, we won't bother with you anymore. We'll cut you off. If you speak to those circle makers, we're cutting you off. That's it. And I thought, well, I don't like to be told what I can and can't look at, so I was kind of happy to kind of speak to these guys to hear what they had to say. And I thought they put forward a very good case for why they were making the crop circles, and the only thing that I couldn't do was actually get them to show me them doing it, because that would be a risk to them that I might, you know, reveal to the police they were making the crop circles. So
they didn't actually show you?
Didn't show me, just told me. It's very much arm's length. We'll talk to you, but we're not going to prove anything to you because we can't take the risk. And I was like, okay, fair enough. So we went away and we decided to make some crop circles to kind of add this into the mix and see whether or not what we created would be taken seriously by so-called expert researchers.
So you decided to make them yourself?
And we decided to make them ourselves to test the researchers to see whether they could tell the difference between ours, which were at the beginning very amateur, and some of the better stuff that was out there. And the result of it was that the researchers were saying that our amateur stuff was really good. And I was like, that's a bit of a head scratcher, because well, we don't really even know what we're doing, and they're saying it's really good.
So they believed it. They believed it was real.
Yeah, and people were having healing experiences and things, you know, the crop circles we made. So it seemed like a good idea to carry it on and see how we could kind of progress this. So we kept it going, and along the road of making the crop circles over the years, I've had a lot of weird experiences in the fields.
I was going to say, you obviously making them.
Yeah.
Making them, but you have had obviously experiences whilst you're either making them or if you're by the field, haven't you?
Yeah.
Do you want to quickly just delve into that a little bit?
I came to the conclusion after several years of making these and eventually being invited into the kind of inner circle of circle makers. So those people who wouldn't initially speak to me, they eventually said, well, we can see you're making them now, so yeah, you can come out and help us if you want. So I picked up a lot of skills from them, and our work started getting more complicated, and we were up there in the sort of like high arts category of crop circle making. And we had a lot of weird stuff happen to us. Like we were out one night, and I got this feeling it was okay to make this crop circle in a field where we knew there were people watching the field. And I said to my friend, he said, we can't do this. Oh, thank you. I'll use it now. Yeah, right, okay. There we go then. So, no, I won't. That's thrown me, hasn't it, folks? Yeah.
Oh dear.
How did you come back from that? Yeah, right.
Calm.
Yeah. So I basically said, look, it's crazy. These guys are going to see us in the field. We can't do this because they're going to see us. And then something came into my sort of head, like saying, no, you can do this. You can do this. I'm thinking, well, it's insanity because we're going to get caught. They're going to see us. The police could get called. It's all going to go wrong. But it just kept feeling like, no, you can do this. And I said to my friend, I said, I get this weird feeling like we should do this. And he said, do you know what? I'm feeling that too. Like we should do this. And I'm like, but it doesn't make any sense because we're going to get caught. And he said, I know. And I said, I know, but it just feels like we should.
So it's like a group feeling that you had mutually without you actually knowing it until you spoke to each other.
Yes.
No adrenaline. It's just like, well, no, we should do it. So you're going against all your instincts, and you know you're going to get caught.
Instincts and logic to say those people can see us. We can see them, so they'll be able to see us. So we shouldn't do this. But it felt like it's okay, we can. So we carried on making this crop circle, and I was curious why nobody came in and stopped us doing it. And in the morning, I said to some people, like, who was at that field last night? You know, because I knew they were sky watchers. They had a telescope. And I said, who are those guys? And we were put in touch with somebody who knew them. And I said, oh, what's the story then about that crop circle there? And they said, well, it was interesting because those guys said that a fog bank came down over the fields during the night, and they couldn't see anything in that field because of a fog bank.
Did you see the fog bank?
We did not see any fog bank in the field. And in the morning, apparently the fog bank, that's good, keep it on. They couldn't see us because of this fog bank. It lifted up in the morning, the crop circle was there. And that's not the only time it's happened where we've had this kind of like wall of invisibility, or people can't see what we're doing when we're making the crop circle.
Am I right in saying you were when you yourself you heard chanting, or was that? You heard chanting and then it was... Oh.
Yes. Yeah. We saw balls of light in a field one night which chased us out. So I've told you about one experience where I felt something was okay to do it. And there was a field where I wanted to go to, and we went in there, and everything felt wrong about it. And the feeling I got was, we're not meant to do this. And I don't know, I can't explain it, but it was just like a feeling of it was wrong. I shouldn't be there. I was very much on edge. But I tried to kind of internalize that, not to let everybody else know what I was thinking and feeling.
So you just hiding it?
I was hiding it to myself. Yeah. And then we went into the field, we found a spot, and I said, right, well, we'll start scribing the circle. And I couldn't get the people who were experienced circle makers to be able to just start scribing this simple circle. And I was having to explain to them what to do and hand them the tape. And I was, and I was like, no, just start. And I'm like, oh, but I don't know what am I supposed to do? And I'm like, everyone was confused. Everyone was really confused, which was unusual for these experienced circle makers to be like that. And so then I just said, look, just start, just do it. So they started scribing, and as they did, 3 balls of light came on in the corners of the field. So if you imagine like this room, so it'd be like 1, 2, 3, and no ball of light in that corner. And then these 3 balls of light came on, and our immediate instinct reaction from cars, when cars drive past, is to just duck down below the level of the crop. Yeah. So we ducked down, and then we were all looking at each other, and it was like an instinctive reaction. Farmers, there must be torches, like sort of, somebody started running, and I thought, yeah, I'm running too, but we ran in the direction where there was no ball of light. Yeah, so we ran out of the field, and I can remember looking back a couple of times and seeing these golden balls of light moving across the crop to the position where we would have been starting the circle. So they were moving into that position. But they weren't torchlights, because if it was a torchlight, you'd see a beam moving back and forth across the crop like that. These were just spots of light, and they were just moving very, very carefully. And again, if it's somebody running with a torch, you'd imagine it to be going up and down and up and down.
Of course, yeah.
And none of that. It was just them moving into the position where we'd actually started.
So what happened when, do you remember seeing when they were in the middle?
Yeah.
Did they come together, disappear, or you just don't remember?
I don't remember seeing them in the middle as one object, because I think we got out of the field by that point, and we left somebody behind with our stomper boards, and we said, look, you stay there, get in a hedge, right, we're going to run up now, get the car, because we couldn't walk up the main road with boards in hand because it would be too obvious. If a car came, you know, we couldn't be spotted with the boards. We'd have to chuck them to the side of the road. And this was a road that didn't have hedges on it. And it was basically straight into a flat field, so you can imagine, where do we hide the boards? Well, there's nowhere. I don't know, let's pretend like we're having sex, put the boards underneath. Oh, sorry, you know, where do you hide them? You can't hide them. So he said, that's the only hedge. You stay there, we'll get the car, we'll drive down, flash the lights, get you in. So we went to get the car, drove back, and as we were driving down the hill, our mate was walking up the middle of the road with the boards clenched tightly in his hand, like stiffly walking up the road. And I just went, what the hell? So I flashed the lights and I went, oi, what's wrong with you? What are you doing walking up the road with the boards, man? Well, come in. He said, oh, just get me in the car, get me in the car. And I'm like, okay, just jump in. So he got in the car, he goes, get out of here, get out of here. And I said, what is it, what is it? He goes, I've just heard screaming and sounds like banshees, you know, like some wailing sound, like, you know, this sort of stuff. And he said it sounded blood-curdling. And so he was really scared. And I said, but you do realise if we'd been a police car, you'd be in real trouble. And he said, to be honest, if it had been a police car, they said, let me in, get me out of here. That's so seriously, he was quite shook up by this, you know, so, yeah. And,
so you carried on this for a while, and I know you are the only person in the UK who's got a record.
Oh, arrested for it, yeah.
So you're the only person in the UK who's ever been arrested for making one?
Yes. And it's because I've been trying to help the public understand more about the art and the paranormal stuff and why the people who make them believe that we're being guided to actually do certain things at certain times. Because I've got it was 11 o'clock at night, I got a mental idea in my head, like an idea being pushed in my head that I had to go out and make a crop circle that night. And I didn't have a team to go out with. So I got up and I was like, okay, well I'll try and do this, but it's going to be a bit hard. I'll have to use a tripod, and I'll weight the tripod down and use that to kind of describe the circle with me. I drove to Avery, which is a stone circle, and I made this design. Nearby I could hear people's voices and somebody playing a guitar. They were really close, like within a couple of 100 feet of where I was. But I felt, again, like I could get away with doing this in front of these people. I was quiet. But when I finished it, in the morning, I sought out people to say, well, who was there last night at Avery, and you know, what happened with that circle that appeared? And I said, oh, it's really weird, because those people said that they were meditating on the design, and it appeared a couple of 100 feet away from where they were doing the meditation, and it's exactly the same shape that they were meditating on. I came out and did within a couple of 100 feet of them.
So what you're basically saying is these people meditate, so telepathy, one step to another, some type of mind telepathy to you, to go out to the field, do the crop circle, and you could hear the chime or whatever it was, but you didn't know where it's coming from.
And that was interesting because those people, I did meet them, and they said we weren't playing guitar and we weren't chanting, we were sitting quietly making no noise at all. But I heard guitar and chanting, but they weren't doing that apparently. Now I think that was something was making me hear that to warn me they were there, because I might have been making more noise otherwise, thinking I was on my own.
So you would say it was paranormal of some sort?
So paranormal in two senses, letting me know that those people were there, because they were completely quiet apparently, and also that I did the design that they were asking for. It could be one of two things, because maybe something is putting the idea for that design in their heads too. Something else up there could be putting the design in their heads. And I'm getting the same idea, because that's happened a few times. Like people have been saying, I knew this design was going to appear, and they kept that to themselves, and we've gone out and done it. And I mean, you know, the designs are quite specific sometimes, and the person will be like, you know, that is the design, that is really the design that I had, and somebody's going to put it in the field, so
the people who do the crop circles then, or did do the crop circles, were you sort of the only sort of, obviously your team doing that, but the people who did it before you, and then you got them into this inner circle, did they also have these same feelings as well when they did the crop circles?
I was very interested in not only finding out who made the crop circles, but the paranormality of it. You know, I went from being a disbeliever to being a full believer, and then actually dedicating the crop circles we were doing to these telepathic entities that were kind of helping us and controlling us and giving us the ideas. So I went into kind of like full cult weirdo mode, you know, kind of like. But yeah, it was all good, you know. It was all great, and I wanted to tell people that there were a lot of people like us out there doing it for the same reasons, and I just wanted to share that kind of positive message. But unfortunately, it got me in trouble because I was working to tell the researchers, I'm making these, and they kept on saying, well, prove it. So some of them, we did actually take cameras out with us at night and we showed stuff. But they would say, oh, you're not going to say which circle that is. I said, well, you can't because I'll get in trouble for it. So a couple of times we got paid to do demonstrations for TV programs and things like this. And we did it under real conditions, and we did it at night. And we replicated a circle from the past perfectly under like conditions, but it was being paid for by a TV company.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah.
So, you know, we did a perfect carbon copy of the
carbon copy, but under controlled conditions.
Yeah. So it's, I just told too much to too many people. One day, somebody I respected in the United States, Whitley Strieber, who's an author of UFO books. I don't know if you know the book. I think it's called Abduction. It's got the grey alien face on the front.
Yeah, it's Abduction.
I contacted him because he did a radio show, and I said, do you want to know the truth about crop circles? And he said, yeah, sure. And I explained that I made them, and he said, well, you'll have to prove it to me. And I said, well, what proof would you want? And he said, well, send me a design before it appears, and then, and I said, yeah, but you'll keep it quiet, it'll just be between us, yeah? And he said, yeah, sure, I'll keep it between us. And I'm like, okay. So I sent him the design, when I made it, and he went and gave it to the crop circle researchers who gave it to the police, and then I had the police come to my house and...
So they basically stitched you up?
Stitched me up.
They want you, people knowing really how it's done?
Yeah. And it was nasty at the time. I got a very small fine for it. The magistrates actually laughed, and I think they were more on my side than anything else, to be honest, because at the end of the day, it brought a lot to the area, brought a lot in terms of art, tourism, and a lot of people who were interested in spirituality came because of the crop circles too. And I think we were part of that. You know, that was a genuine thing. And these people who say, oh, you know, hoaxes, people who make crop circles are hoaxes, but people who make crop circles are the crop circles, that's it, you know? It really is people, but those people are not necessarily negative. They're not doing this to kind of fool people, pull the wool over their eyes. We're doing it because we're trying to give them something positive, that's spiritual, that we're being guided to do, so they can have that positive spiritual experience, you know?
Yeah, I understand that. So, obviously, crop circles are still around, and you know, it's still going on. So whether it is higher beings, entities, what you said, or whether it's just people dossing around and doing that, it's still open to debate. Would you agree? Obviously not in your eyes.
Well, if you want to believe that aliens making the crop circles, I would suggest go out and make a couple and see what people say about your work, because they'll probably categorise it as being real and the rest of it. It's the only way to be sure is to make it yourself. I mean, so I could tell you up here, I could show you footage of what we've done, and the night conditions and the day conditions, but you're not going to believe it unless you've actually been there, made one, and then see what people say.
Oh, okay, so, Matt, moving on from the crop circles then, obviously you're not in that sort of bit there, you do urbex,
yes.
As everybody knows, well-known urbexer, done the paranormal stuff as well.
Yeah.
What initially got you into urbexing? Not being child of people, done that.
I know, the child of it was I was a very curious child, used to climb up scaffolding, on roofs, go in tunnels and do all sorts of things like that. And then it sort of, I didn't do that for a while, you know, through teenage years, because there was a lot of computers and video editing and cars and things like that. So, and then when I started doing the UFO stuff, because I think it was like I might have been 19 years of age when I had that UFO sighting, and I started writing for the magazines. And once I got to Bruglow Manor, Corsham, and I found out about the underground bunkers, that piqued my interest. I got in there, and it started me up again. You know, that sort of fired me up into the kind of exploring.
That made you right. I'm going to go and start doing exploring other sort of random places.
And I used to video document it back then, but not in the way that I do it now, because I didn't have enough battery life. Otherwise, I probably would have filmed everything, you know. So I didn't have good torches, and I didn't have good batteries in the video camera.
And of course, technology's moved on.
Yes.
We didn't have what we have now, so
Yeah.
you were doing it manually nearly, weren't you? Other than like a proper camera, and that was about it, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm nosy. I like looking into old buildings and churches and things like that. You know, I find it fascinating. I find it quite eerie. And I used to explore a lot of them on my own when I was a kid. And I used to spook the hell out of myself because I would explore these places, but I would never like to go in the basement. I would never go to the basement, like as if there was something down there that was going to get me, you know.
Are you still like that? Do you,
No.
No, you've got over that, yeah?
I've definitely got over it now, yeah.
You just stare at people in basements.
Yeah. Jordan, where are you?
Where are you?
Yeah, Brady. But that's it. That's how I got back into it. And I saw other people on YouTube doing it, and I thought, but I'm into this. Why don't I do that? You know, I just thought, well, other people are doing it. I could easily do this because I had video editing skills and camera skills. So that's why I got back into it.
So you carried on doing that, you're still doing it now.
Yeah.
Any future plans to do something different or the same, or anything you want like looking to do, but haven't quite got there yet?
I have got some ideas of a couple of things I would like to do, but I'm not in a position money-wise to be able to do them, because they are stuff that's abroad.
Right.
I cut my coat according to my cloth, and yeah, we're all UK based at the moment. So.
But hopefully, who knows, we're going to get out further out, yeah?
I'd like to. There's a couple of places I would like to do. I mean, like years ago I went to Area 51 in the United States, so that's where the UFOs are supposed to be. And I did a bit of a tour there. Yeah. So I'd like to do some places like that around the world, do maybe some more UFO documentaries as well, put some stuff out on that.
Well, yeah, I mean, because now obviously they've got the Americans are now sort of going, yeah, we admit it, there are things in the sky which we have known about for a long time.
Yes, it's now been officially admitted that there are things which are appearing on radar, and the American government do not know what these are, but admitting they're there. So
there's more coming out in November, I believe.
There's a Congress hearing, I believe, in November, which has moved from
November 13th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So it's moved from the House of Representatives. Cheers. It's moved from the House of Representatives to the Congress. So yeah, you know, watch out for alien disclosure soon. Cheers. Take care.
Down me.
Come on then. Basically it.
Brilliant.
So you can all leave now.
Yep, see you.
Get pissed.
Matt, thank you so much. And,
Oh, and Melissa's got the
what's she got?
raffle tickets. Is Brady want to come up? I was only kidding about he's like, if you've got me, come on, get up, Brady. Yeah, come on, Brady, tell us your life story. Wow.
Oh, this is improv to do.
This is